We'll have a minute for our audience to join us. Ishmael, how is the weather there in your part of the world?
Oh, it's a bit cloudy in my city, but it's not raining. It was raining yesterday. Today it's cloudy, but a mixture of cloud and sun. Yeah.
It's cloudy here in Düsseldorf too today. And
That's very usual summer of Sweden.
I believe our audience has joined us. Good evening and welcome to the Persecution Report. I'm your host, Tanoim Rosalom. Tonight, we begin with a word you will find in every constitution of every country that calls itself a democracy. A word so foundational that its removal does not reform a state, it dismantles one. That word is association. The right to form a political party, the right to gather under common belief, the right to organize, to contest, to compete in the arena of democratic life. These are not privileges. They are not gifts from a government. They are rights constitutionally guaranteed, internationally recognized, and in Bangladesh, enshrined in Article 31 of the Constitution that the people of this nation bled for in 1971. Tonight, we are going to talk about what happens when a government tears that page out. Bangladesh has banned the Awami League, the political party that led this country to independence, the organization that has governed Bangladesh, contested elections, and represented tens of millions of citizens for over 7 decades, banned by executive decree, without a constitutional amendment, without a court verdict, without due process of any recognizable kind. We are not here tonight to argue about who you voted for. We are not here to relitigate elections or score political points. We are here because when a government bans a political party, any political party, it is not acting against that party alone. It is acting against every citizen who ever voted for it, every member who ever joined it, every person who ever believed they had the right to hold a political identity in his country. With me tonight, joining Barrister Taposh Kanti Paul, a constitutional expert and a human rights lawyer from Düsseldorf, Germany, and from Stockholm, Sweden, joining us, Saifur Rahman Mishu, a blogger, an activist, and an IT specialist. My first question to Barrister Taposh Kanti Paul. Barrister Paul, you have seen how constitutional rights are defended and how they are dismantled up close, very close actually. You have been working in that field for like so many years. Has just walked us, can you just walk us through the legal architecture when you look at Article 38 of Bangladeshi Constitution and then look at what this government has done in plain terms? What has been violated here?
Thank you. Thank you for having me into this program because I understand that the constitutional right of Bangladesh constitution is very clear. I would say that's the reason why we can claim that the decision of Bangladesh government, at first it was the decision of Yunus government, and then it was supported by the government of Tariq Rahman or BNP, as you say it. They actually put a blanket ban on the political activities of Bangladesh Awami League. These they have done in the name of uh, prohibiting terrorist acts. They have termed, first of all, Bangladesh Students League as a terrorist outfit, Jubo League or Youth League as a terrorist outfit, and together with that, they said since Bangladesh Awami League is the parent organization, and there are cases pending in the International Crimes Tribunal.
And it's a government decree.
It's a government decree,
not by court.
Not by court. It's an order. First of all, you have to understand, because we have discussed this many times, that the first order announced by Yunus government it's an order which is a very special measure when the parliament is not in session, right? The parliament, if the parliament is in session, then it is the law that if you want to enact any piece of legal instrument, then definitely you have to go through the parliamentary process. For example, you have to present it like a bill, then there will be debates between all the political parties present in the parliament, and then all of these debating points will go to the law committee, permanent committee of on law and legal drafting in the parliament, and then they will again make necessary amendments, which will again be debated by the parliament.
Let's say that's the due process,
right?
And let's say, for an argument's sake, that at that time the parliament was dissolved.
Absolutely dissolved. There was no parliament at all.
There was no parliament, but just for some type of procedure, was there a fact-finding mission or a commission formed by legal scholars or
the
a
only
judge?
Fact-finding mission that is by UN Human Rights Commission, Human Rights Office. There is this only fact-finding commission.
But even Human Rights Commission cannot and shall not and would never recommend banning of a political party.
Even moreover, at the very end of the report, they have said that you cannot use this report to make any legal decision, be it by the government, be it by the court. It cannot be used. They have said categorically that you cannot use it as a piece of evidence in any court of law or by any government for any decision. That's why there is no legal finding or fact-finding mission whatsoever till today by the government of Bangladesh.
But for Bangladeshi procedure, let's say this was done by the United Nations.
Right.
United Nations is not an authority in decision making when it comes to Bangladesh, as Bangladesh is a sovereign state.
Yes.
So let's say we do not have a parliament there, but we had a court. We have a very established court system, legal system.
Right. I do not see any established court system at this moment.
I'm not going in that argument. Right now, let's say we have it for argument's sake.
Yeah.
But they didn't take it to the court.
Right. They
didn't establish a commission.
No.
To actually determine whether these are terrorist organizations or
they didn't. There is no commission, or as you said, there is no commission or investigation team or fact-finding mission by the government of Bangladesh, be at the time of Yunus, be at the time of BNP. There is no such thing.
So it was basically an anarchist government. Whatever they wanted to say, they just declared.
Absolutely. There was no legal order. There is no rule of law under Yunus regime, right? Because whatever they wanted, they made it done by the bureaucracy, by the judicial bureaucracy even, that whatever they wanted, the judges were giving the judgment or the order according to their prescription.
Yet they didn't go to the court.
Yet they didn't go to the court, or even if someone went to the court, those were summarily dismissed, or in the fear of summary dismissal, they were not press rejected. They were the lawyers or the pro bono clients of certain lawyers, they didn't proceed forward in the fear that if there is a judgment on merit based on this, then it will be very difficult for the upcoming politicians or political parties to challenge it and to overturn this decision on merit.
How freedom of association is defended in Bangladeshi constitution and under international human rights law?
Look, this is one of the freedoms, right?
Basic.
Basic freedoms. And this is one of the inalienable rights of every human being, because they enjoy it since the day they are born, that they will have a right to, they will have a freedom to assembly. Now, whenever there is a freedom, like freedom of speech, freedom of thinking, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, or association, whenever you say the word freedom, it comes with a catch that it is, there are certain conditions, there are certain thresholds that you cannot cross. For example, peaceful assembly is always permitted, but the moment the assembly or the association turns into, I would say, chaotic works, turns into terroristic activities, and they are threatening the peaceful lives and enjoyment of lives of citizens and their properties, at that very moment, they ceases to enjoy this freedom. Because, however, the steps of the government has to be proportionate and has to be really necessary. So, for example, you cannot just impose restriction on a political party just for fun, just because you are desiring it. You have to say that this decision is proportionate and necessary. So, Yunus government, when they took these administrative decisions and passed the order via the president, they did not establish that they qualify for these thresholds, because it is well understood that more than 70% of the people support Bangladesh Awami League, and when the political party garners such a huge amount of support within a country, then you cannot just ban them all on a sudden. You have to prove to the people of Bangladesh that, look, these are the reasons for which I'm taking this decision, because if I don't take this decision, then there will be chaos, there will be threat to the lives and property of the civilians. Just in comparison, just think, on 2nd of August 2024, Bangladesh government banned Jamaat-e-Islami.
Yep.
Why they banned Jamaat-e-Islami at that time? Because it was proportionate and necessary. Because Jamaat-e-Islami, we all know now, they had a plan, they had a meticulous design all along, and they were running all the terrorist activities behind the scenario. We all know now, because they have said over and over again that they have killed police, they have destroyed BTV, they have destroyed all the major infrastructures in Bangladesh, and they claim, they boast about it, that if hadn't they been doing it, then probably the July, August wouldn't have happened, and which is absolutely right. And that's why Jamaat-e-Islami was banned in August 2024. So in comparison, when you ban Awami League, there was no such threat. Just look at the scenarios after 2024, 5th of August. Awami League was not a threat at all to any of them. Whether Awami League was a threat even during the protests, Awami League was not a threat even during the protests. Now we know those who were attacking the protesters, the student protesters, they were all Jamaat-e-Islamis. They were posing themselves as supporters of Awami League. We call them in Bangla Gupto, or secret forces, right? Secret Jamaat-e-Islami, yes.
They issued a presidential order for this, to amend the existing law. And let's say we talked about the previous government who didn't have the mandate, but after that, BNP, the current BNP government, they in the parliament, they passed that amendment.
Right.
And how legal is that?
That amendment process, I have always the time said, and you know as well, that amendment process is not legal, but because again, this amendment was done by an order of the president, and which was supposed to be validated or authenticated by the parliament within the next 90 days. But unfortunately, there was no such parliament, right?
Yeah.
And when it was put forward in the parliament, which was in February 2026, the government should have done, the new government should have put it forward for debate. But was there any debate? Even Rumin Farhana, one of the present MPs, she wanted to open the floor to discuss this ban, this blanket ban, but the speaker didn't provide her with that time, with that platform. So there was no discussion about this order. So from these two perspectives, this amendment via the order, violating the time frame, and not by discussing it in front of the parliament when they had the opportunity, has completely made it ultra-vires and a void ab initio.
Even, let's say, for even if the speaker had allowed the parliamentarians adequate time to debate, let's say for argument's sake, should that justify
No,
this decree?
yes, because
Can that justify it?
it cannot.
This is about a very basic right.
Look, this very basic right, if you want to curtail this basic right, as I said, that at first the government have to establish that it was proportionate and it was only the last option to take. It was a necessary.
Yes, exactly.
It was a necessary step. The government did not discuss these things, not when they was passing this order, nor not when they have made this order into an act of the parliament. They did not discuss these things. So if these things are not discussed, number one, and number two, when the president will be passing an ordinance, if you are not going through that qualification, you are not qualifying these two. One is substantive requirement, that it has to be proportionate and necessary step. If you don't satisfy these together with the 90 days requirement that you need to present it before a parliament within 90 days, if these two requirements are not met, then you cannot make it legal just by presenting it before the parliament after 90 days, just how the BNP did. It was very naked use of power.
Okay, and here is something Machiavellian here. The Machiavellian factor here is that they are not banning Awami League as a party. What they're saying that the activism of Bangladesh Awami League is banned. Bangladesh Student League and the Youth League, they are banned
Right.
organization outfits. And for Awami League, they're saying activism is banned. So if it is a terrorist, on one hand, they're saying okay, it's an terrorist outfit, but the outfit is not banned. Again, but the activities is banned. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
It is totally contradictory statement, and without a finding from a judicial body,
Yes, exactly.
you cannot just term anyone terrorist.
Yes, that's exactly that. There was no commission, there was no inquiry uh, to find out whether these organizations are really terrorists. No, not a court of law or a commission. There was nothing actually. Now, to Saifur Rahman Mishu, okay, let us talk about the mechanism of the ban itself, because I think that the how matter is much as the what. This was not parliamentary vote. It was not an audience understand what does it means when a government remove a political party not through law but through order, through a decree. And what does that tell us about who actually holds power in Bangladesh right now?
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to today's episode of the persecution report. I think in a democracy, major decisions like I'm sorry, I was having some technical issues. Okay. What I think in a democracy or in a democratic country, if any democratic practice exists at all, major decisions like banning a political party should go through an electoral process. That means people should have the right to choose their representatives. But that didn't happen in Bangladesh in this case. Instead, the government used an executive decree. executive decrees are meant for administrative decisions, not for taking away the fundamental democratic rights of anyone or any political party. So governments often use this method when they want to avoid the public debate or legal scrutiny and judicial review that come with parliament and the courts. So under Bangladesh's constitution, there is no provision that gives the executive the power to dissolve or ban a political party or even like put a bar on any activism of a political party. The constitution is silent on this issue. And in constitution law, that usually means the government does not have that power. A power that has not been granted cannot simply be assumed. So
I mean,
the government,
information,
yes,
what the power given to government by the constitution, by the
yeah,
founders of our constitution, is in good faith, is
yeah,
in good
of course,
faith that the right of the people would not be countermanded. But here, what we are seeing is naked tyranny
of
and
course,
fascism. That right
of
now in
course,
Bangladesh, for if we take as they say 2008 election in Bangladesh, the opposition, the BNP, Jamaat Islami, and some others, they take it as the benchmark of election in Bangladesh. And if we take that benchmark into consideration, Bangladesh Awami League had acquired 48% of the total vote of the country. That means at least like 50% of the country is Bangladesh Awami League's primary supporters. 50%. So basically, right now, 50% of the people of the country, they do not have any political right, any political say. They cannot vote. They cannot take part in politics. They cannot have a say in which direction Bangladesh is going. Exactly, that's what we are seeing, isn't it?
yes, and very it's a very like matter of concern that the government has also justified this ban by referring to national security. But national security cannot become a blanket reason to like suspend constitutional rights. So around the world, democratic courts have repeatedly said that any restriction on political rights must be necessary, proportionate, and subject to independent judicial oversight. That both of you have already discussed this part very well, and Mr. Tapos has already enlightened us into that side. So here, the biggest concern is what this says about power in Bangladesh today. If the executive can ban a political party or even the activities of a political party that has existed for more than 70 years, and also this party has led the struggle of independence of the country, so without being heard from the people, it shows a serious concentration of power in the executive. So that is not how a constitutional democracy is supposed to function. So finally, we actually have to ask, where are the people's right here? Where are the people's representatives? So people even don't have the option to choose their representative.
So yeah, basically it is they are choosing as we know that in Bangladeshi politics, Bangladesh Nationalist Party (BNP), they are the center right, and Jamaat Islam is the far right party. So right now, the left wing progressive, which in Bangladesh is known as Bangladesh Awami League, center left. So in Bangladesh, center left progressive people, they do not have a political option right now, isn't it?
Definitely, like if we look into the election, the so-called election. So I think the first question here we have to ask is like, what makes an election democratic? It is not simply the act of just people going and voting. A democratic election genuinely like requires competition, where voters have a real choice between different political parties. But in this case, what we have seen, like a major portion of the citizen of Bangladesh didn't have their option, didn't have their supported symbols even on the ballot. So even that means that decision has been made before the election day, right? A major portion of the citizen will be kept aside. They are not being heard. So that's the very big flaw of this election that has happened, and the mechanism they have kind of orchestrated to bypass the real uh, basic or very basic of democracy.
I want to bring in the human reality behind the legal arguments, Mr. Taposh. We are
Right.
talking about a party that has tens of millions of members and voters, people who joined our League not as an act of extremism, but as an act of political participation. The most ordinary democratic act there is, as we understand. What is happening to those people right now? What does it mean when political identity itself become criminalized?
So the your question actually have two legs. One is that what will happen to those victims,
Yes, yes.
right? So I will start with that, since Awami League is always dedicated to its supporters, and the supporters are the lifeline of Bangladesh Awami League. And so I have to say that when you declare or criminalize the activities of a certain political party, then automatically, even if you are not you are not a leader named in any committee, you just a mere supporter of a political party, you are also getting affected without any doubt. How you are getting affected, that is the question. Because if the government says that they will charge you for under terrorist act, then that is quite, I would say, extreme measure the government is going to take. One is that they can just bring you to a police station, record your address, and verbally verbally just abuses you. I would say not abuse, that verbally precautions you, right? Cautions you for not doing Bangladesh Awami League is a different thing, but that is also under ICCPR Article 21. It is also illegal. So, but what we are seeing is that the victims are reprimanded extremely, right? There are hundreds and thousands of illegal false cases are being filed against them, false cases alleging that they have committed or conspired or aided and abetted or they were complicit in the killing and injuring general people during that July and August. What is more dangerous is that, for example, they are now bringing like 15-year-old actions of police and BGP in Motijil area, which is called Shapla Chottor. They are bringing those old things into front. And even if there was BBC Bangla News's chief who was there himself, he said not a single soul was harmed during that night. But we find that there are certain content creators, there are certain leaders of
I mean,
NCP.
disinformation campaign.
Right. That's what I'm coming to. That they have started this disinformation and misinformation campaign, and they, at first it was started by Adilur Rahman Shubho, who was an advisor to Yunus government.
And in the international arena of human rights, he is a big shot
He's
as
a big
well.
shot. So he said,
But in Bangladesh arena, he is known as a liar.
absolutely, why he is known as a liar, that has to be told. That we are not merely telling him a disinformation giant just because he is lying. He said that in that Sapla Chottor, thousands of people were killed by the law enforcing agencies and Awami League supporters. When the government asked a list from him, he could not produce a list. After a few days, when he produced a list, then in that list you will find only repetitive names, and most of them were found to be alive, and some of them were dead not in Shapla Chattor, elsewhere, for totally different reason. One of them is, due to old age complications, they have died. So when BBC chief says that not a single soul was harmed, that is the reality, which was concocted by Adilur Rahman Shubho and other content creators, saying that the police killed so and so. Even even let me tell you that even in the present case, when the chief prosecutor of the International Crimes Tribunal says that we found that there is a prima facie case of people being killed, what is the number he mentioned? He said 35 or 30 people were dead. And again, David Bergman, even if he is a paid agent of NCP, Yunus, and others, he is also questioning this conclusion of the chief prosecutor. He is also saying that by no means of practicality you cannot reach into that number through a free and fair investigation. So I have to go back to your first question.
David Bergman,
yeah,
he is known for opposition of Bangladesh Awami League for many
years. I'm not getting into his role or whatever it is. I'm going to simply go back to your first question when you said that whether there was any fact-finding mission into any of this. Unfortunately, there was no fact-finding mission in any of these incidents. But it also means the person who made this complaint, they also failed to establish a concrete number with a specific identification of the victims. So I would say this is totally baseless, biased, and concocted way of imposing allegations against the supporters and leaders of Bangladesh Awami League. Coming back to your question, which actually raises another very important question, that what we are seeing, that how they are getting victimized. For example, they are getting killed in the prison. They are getting killed even in the custody. Yes. There is a difference between in prison and custody. I hope our listeners will understand that. And then you cannot reside in your own home. You have to flee always the time. And if you go back, we have seen that one activist, he merely returned his home when the police, took him into custody and was beaten to death. So all these things are happening when, in the name of banning the political activity of Bangladesh Awami League. Now, I will just very briefly add that whether there was any legitimate aim to this decision. If it is a legitimate aim to attain this legitimacy, you have to establish that the activities of Awami League is a threat to the health or morality of the citizens of Bangladesh. They were not. Then you have to establish that whether there is a threat to the national security. Awami League is not. We already know who is the threat to the national security. Jamaat-e-Islami, BNP, NCP, all of them are national threats to the sovereignty of Bangladesh, to the public safety and safety of the private and public properties. So in this situation, just merely imposing a ban on the political activities of Bangladesh Awami League means that you are actually taking away the voice of these suffering victims. You are just restricting, gagging the voice of Bangladesh Awami League, so that the leaders and activities of Bangladesh Awami League does not or cannot put the real facts in front of the general people, so that they can understand that what is carrot and what is cucumber.
Previously, we were speaking about the disinformation, the misinformation campaign. Is it state sanctioned?
Right now, it is state sanctioned, absolutely, without any doubt. Even when in July, August, it was sanctioned by these political parties whose name I have just said, Jamaat-e-Islami, BNP, and NCP is the new addition to all of this. And historically, if we look into the politics of Jamaat-e-Islami, you will see that even in 1971 and even in before that, they were playing with historical facts. They were always the time giving distorted version of facts. They are all constantly denying. It is not only politics, they have also distorted the principles of religion. Islam being a religion of peace, they have distorted the religion and religious facts as well. They have always the time interpreted the religion according to their own interest. They have adopted that interpretation which will provide political benefit to them, financial benefit to them, nothing else. So what about BNP, after the killing of the father of the nation Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman along with his family, what Ziaur Rahman did, Ziaur Rahman was feeding distorted information to the people of Bangladesh. And to support his distorted facts, he brought in Jamaat Islami leaders who supported to the people and who fed the same lie. And that's why you see today that they are trying to dilute the facts of 1971. They want to distort the contribution of Bangladesh Awami League and the father of the nation into the creation of Bangladesh. So what I mean is that they are the producers of misinformation and disinformation, and whatever they are telling has to be considered with a pinch of salt.
So, Saifur Rahman Mishu. So we know that they banned Bangladesh Awami League's activities by a decree, which is illegal, and still they are running disinformation campaign against Bangladesh Awami League. A state-sanctioned disinformation campaign. Many would say a Goebbelsian campaign. Uh, how popular is Bangladesh Awami League in Bangladesh, and how relevant is Bangladesh Awami League in the context of Bangladesh?
Uh, the question, actually, if I want to answer, I don't even want to say. I would even ask the listeners, the viewers today who are watching us, or even who will watch us later, to go through the tea stalls discussions, and also go through the comment sections of newspapers, and also social media news posts. You can ignore the fake IDs and bot IDs, but yeah, if you have some sense, if you want to really verify, please go through those IDs and see how popular. And even the second part of your question was how relevant Bangladesh Awami League is in Bangladesh right now. Bangladesh, how relevant? The answer is basically, if you listen to the news, or if you listen to what everyone of all different parties, this BNP, Jamaat, NCP, and all other parties are discussing every day, if they utter 10 sentences, 5 of them are connected or related to Bangladesh Awami League. So if Bangladesh Awami League is not relevant or hasn't have any relevance in the country, why they are always talking about Bangladesh Awami League? What is the fear behind that makes them scared of talking about Bangladesh Awami League? So Bangladesh Awami League is currently, in my opinion, is much more popular than at least last 10 years. Not only last 2 years, at least last 10 years. Bangladesh Awami League, while was in government, it's very common. Like a political party starts losing the popularity if it remains in power for quite a long time. But at this moment, people have already realized why Bangladesh Awami League is needed, what the country actually requires at this moment, what the leadership we had before or prior to this 5th August of 2024. So Bangladesh needs to be in good hand, and currently I think people understand or realize already have realized that very well. Bangladesh is very much safe in the hands of Bangladesh Awami League.
I mean, that such a party was not part of the election. Their candidates were not there. Their symbol was not there. Their voters were not there. I mean, such a vast portion of Bangladesh vote share, they were not there. The main let's say between BNP, Bangladesh National Party, Nationalist Party and Bangladesh Awami League, two main oppositions of Bangladesh, okay, two main contestants. So one of them were not there, and Bangladesh Nationalist Party formed the government. Actually, they were appointed. Okay, the people who were in the previous government, we have seen them, having the ministerial role, like the foreign minister, and yeah, exactly. They are now in the government, the appointed, many would say. So, what type of mandate Bangladesh National Party has?
Um, Basically,
Can we
if you,
call it a mandate, people's
yeah,
mandate?
yeah, in February 2026, Bangladesh held an election. Okay, let me first clear some allegations about the elections that has been organized during Awami League period. People kind of start talking about the elections in 2014, 18, and 2024. Uh, sorry, end of January 2024. Uh, did Bangladesh Awami League or did at that time or had any of the government banned or didn't allow any of the party to participate in the election? The answer is no. So the other parties, BNP, Jamaat, and their alliance, they intentionally didn't participate in the election. They didn't, like, they were even invited for dialogues. We heard the phone conversation. It was probably during the election of 2014. The former prime minister Sheikh Hasina called Khalda Jia over the phone and asked her to form a small national government to run the election during the election period. We have heard how rudely Khalda Jia had answered over phone. So basically, at that time, government didn't impose any restriction to any of the party to participate in the election. They didn't participate. It was their will. It wasn't anything driven or imposed by Bangladesh Awami. Now let me come to the election that held in 2020, February 2026. The country's largest and oldest political party was legally barred from participating. So its candidate couldn't contest, and millions of its supporters had no party they could vote for. When the main opposition is removed before voting even begins, the election cannot be described as a fully competitive democratic contest. So this is important because a large section of the Bangladeshi electorate has supported the Awami League in multiple elections over many decades. We have seen that, we have that data. So those voters were not physically prevented from entering polling stations, but they were denied the opportunity to vote for the party they supported. So, in that sense, their political voice was effectively removed from the election. So, the result was that the governing alliance did not simply compete against its opponents, right? So it competed without its principal opponent on the ballot. That means the outcomes of the election was heavily shaped before a single vote was even cast. So elections are actually meant to test public support, not to confirm or kind of result that has already been determined by excluding the main competitors. So here it has happened, right? So this also raises questions about legitimacy. A government's strongest mandate comes from winning a free, fair, and genuinely competitive election. When the main opposition is excluded, forcefully excluded, I would like to mention here. So that mandate is inevitably questioned, both at home and internationally.
And to Barrister Taposh Kantibo, I want you to, I'm actually thinking about this, and this is important, that the democracy in Bangladesh has always been contested. We are yet to have that level where democracy is like completely uh, free, fair. So many would argue that during the time of Bangladesh Awami League, the about Digital Security Act or the electoral process. So I'm going to put that argument to you directly. Does a party's own democratic record affect whether it deserves constitutional protection?
Actually, under the present comment of the United Nations General Body for Freedom of Association and Assembly, this requirement is not there. There is no such requirement. If you are an association, you automatically have a right to to enjoy all the protections of the constitution of the country where you are operating, and the universal rights, all the rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights of International Human Rights Law, you are entitled to enjoy without any questions. The latest draft that is being circulated around for final approval by the United Nations treaty body, it is written that even if it is a Facebook group, it will enjoy the same protection. You cannot just put a blanket ban on a Facebook group as well, or put a gagging order, because that will look, freedom of association is actually a bundle of rights, right?
Yeah.
It ensures your freedom of speech, together with your freedom of association, assembly, and your political thought, freedom of political thought. And then, if there is any violation of any other rights, it gives you the platform to talk. And it gives you the right, if you choose to participate in the election, be it a national election, be it a local election, doesn't matter, but it gives you the right. So the moment you deny this freedom to a political party or a group of people, you are actually taking away a bundle of rights from their enjoyment, which is totally and absolutely illegal. Look, the thing that I was reading from, this Bundy political party was banned.
Yeah.
So during that, when it was banned, the UN working group, they gave an opinion, and in that opinion, I will just read it from there. They have mentioned Professor Martin Scheinin, and Martin Scheinin said these are the, for example, even if you claim that this political party is inciting terrorism, right? Even if you say that, you have to qualify 6 grounds. First of all, it must be limited to the incitement to conduct that is truly terrorist in nature, as properly defined according to best practice international standards. Can you term Bangladesh Awami League a terrorist organization in nature?
No.
When 70% people supports it, and this is the political party which actually gave birth to Bangladesh.
And also, it is participating in elections
Absolutely.
year after year.
Yeah, it never said,
So-
except in February election of 1996, that election, you remember clearly, that was totally again an unconstitutional election organized by BNP and Jamaat together, and that's why Awami League was declared that they will not participate in the election, and they didn't. So again, coming back to the lead, that it must restrict the freedom of expression, or which means that the activities of Bangladesh Awami League must restrict the freedom of expression. Even in July and August, Bangladesh Awami League didn't restrict the freedom of expression of people. It didn't. It must be prescribed by law in precise language. Just the government just cannot say that the activities of Bangladesh Awami League is glorifying or promoting terrorism is not enough, because you have to use specific words to describe the specific events which shows that Bangladesh Awami League is inciting terrorism, and there is no such proof till today. Now, the last thing is, it should preserve the application of legal defenses or principles leading to the exclusion of criminal liability by referring to unlawful incitement to terrorism. So, was there any legal defense allotted to Bangladesh Awami League when you termed that it should be banned for inciting terrorism? Was there lawyers or leaders went before a court of law or a legal body or a judicial authority to explain that why this ban should not be imposed on Bangladesh Awami League? Did the government issue generally to impose any sort of ban or any impose any punishment or a sanction on anybody, individual or legal individual? You have to provide notices to them, at least two notices, and then they must enjoy the right to be heard, right to explain their own cases before the public at large, before a judicial body. Was Bangladesh Awami League provided that opportunity? The clean answer is no. And without this, whatever you say, you cannot restrict or put any sanction on the activities of Bangladesh Awami League.
Well, we are very near to our end today. We just have 5 7 minute times in hand. And I would like to, this is very curious that the international community that's largely been silent in this issue. The courts in Bangladesh have not moved decisively. The government shows no signs of reversing course. What does the path forward look like for our Malik?
For Awami League, I would say that all out communication with the international bodies to show that the decision to ban the activities of Bangladesh Awami League was not in conformity with the law. Here, the law not only means the national laws of Bangladesh, it also means the international laws. So, and then they should represent before all the bodies that how these laws are being violated. So I would say that Bangladesh Awami League should not only send written communications to the UN bodies, to the European Union bodies, and to other countries which are playing crucial roles in the politics of Bangladesh. I would say that that Bangladesh Awami League should be allowed to make physical representations in front of the rights bodies, which I means that very soon there will be UN minority rights body will be gathering in Geneva by the end of this year, and over there should be representations or representatives from Bangladesh Awami League who should appear before this body and explain why the restriction of freedom of association of Bangladesh Awami League is actually hurting the freedom of minorities in Bangladesh.
Saifur Rahman Mission, your comment?
Uh, yeah, I would like to add here with Baisha Tapos, like this is also a moment of actually responsibility for Bangladesh's legal community. Like lawyers and judges have a constitutional duty to uphold this rule of law and protect constitutional rights. So that responsibility does not become less important because this case is very much politically sensitive, and this party represents a major portion of the citizens of the country. So time matters here. Every month passes, the country actually going through instability. People are losing their confidence on the government and the state. Not only the government, the people will lose their confidence. The people are barred for spoken out. People are barred for choosing their representatives. That means more people will start losing confidence in asking for their other rights at the same time. While a political rights is taken away, people start losing interest in everything. So that actually will hamper the country in the long run. So in that case, I think it's not only the responsibility of Bangladesh Awami League, it's people's responsibility to speak up.
I mean, the international community, they're watching everything. We know that the
Of
documents,
course.
and
Of
when
course.
you see, when the rights of such a large organization is banned illegally, the supporters and the party members will protest. And when the Awami League party members are protesting, especially the student wing of Bangladesh Awami League, which is Bangladesh Chhatra League, has a fierce reputation of defending democracy and secularism in Bangladesh, and the members of Bangladesh Student League will not stand by when their rights, democratic rights, are taken away. They are protesting. So, as the youth organization of Bangladesh Awami League, Awami Jubo League, they are protesting. And when they are protesting, the government is arresting these people. Not just arresting, many of them are killed in custody. Dozens. Another gruesome violence of human rights. We have seen, because of protesting just a week ago, 7 student league members were thrown in a river and killed. 4 of them are killed. 3 of them are killed. Their dead bodies are found. 4, we do not know where they are. Their bodies are not found. And more despicable is that, okay, these families of the victims, they do not have right to seek justice. They do not have the right to seek justice what so badly that their parents had to hide because police wanted them to issue a statement that it's just turbulence. Okay, there no violence happened. Their son was not a member of Bangladesh Student League. This is happening in Bangladesh. So because of this right is taken away, so many violations of human rights happening, and the international community stands by. They do nothing. Americans want Bangladesh to buy their product in overpriced, like more than world market. Americans are happy with that. If Bangladesh, the current government, current regime buys product gas from Bangladesh, okay, for over the market price, wheat from America over the market price. If they buy 25 Boeings, which Bangladesh do not need, America is happy. They would not say anything because you paid us. European Union wants Bangladesh to buy Airbus now or submarines. So these are the bribes to international community. So they don't say anything. This is exactly what's happening in Bangladesh. We started tonight with the word association. And over the past hour, we have watched what happens when a government decides the word no longer applies to a party, to its members, to the tens of millions of citizens who ever exercised their democratic right to belong to it. A reminder to us that constitutional rights are not rewards for good behavior. They are the floor that every citizen stands on equally, regardless of which party they have voted for. We hope the international community and the human rights organizations will come forward and take this matter seriously. We are suffering. Bangladesh is suffering. Our options are so limited. Either we protest, we fight, and the BNP Jamaat Islamic government are killing us, or we do not have any rights. We let them do whatever they want. We make Bangladesh a terrorist heaven. That's all for tonight. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you same time next week. Goodbye. Joy Bangla. Joy Bangla Bandhu.
Jai Bangla, Jai Bangla Bandhu.